Did you know that nearly 60% of people over 65 have an outdated will, or worse, no will at all? Imagine your family doesn't know what you want after you're gone. They argue over who gets the house, the family heirlooms, or even your personal items. It sounds stressful, doesn't it? Now imagine that same thing happening after you've passed and your loved ones are left in turmoil, unsure of your wishes. What if you could have prevented it with a few simple updates to your will? The good news is it's not too late. There are key signs you can look out for to know when it's time to update your will, and trust me, you don't want to ignore them. Many seniors think once they've made a will, it's set in stone. They sign it, file it away, and forget about it. But a will is not a one-time thing. Life changes, and so should your will. Your family, health, and even your financial situation can evolve. And if your will doesn't reflect those changes, it could create a huge mess after you're gone, not to mention the emotional toll it could have on your loved ones. Think about it. If something were to happen to you, would your family know exactly what you want? Would they know how to handle your estate, your possessions, or even your healthcare preferences? A will is not just a legal document, it's your final way of showing love and care for your family. Many people don't realize they need to update their will until it's too late. I don't want that for you. Today I'm going to walk you through 5 key signs that it's time to make changes to your will. So stay tuned, because these changes can save your family a lot of heartache. 1. You've experienced a major life change. Life is full of changes, some expected, some unexpected, but all of them can have a significant impact on your will and how you want your assets to be distributed after you're gone. Major life events such as a marriage, a divorce, the birth of grandchildren, the loss of a spouse, or even the estrangement from a family member can change the course of your life in ways that might require a change in how you handle your estate. It's important to reflect on these events and update your will to ensure that your wishes are clearly outlined and your loved ones know exactly what you want. For instance, let's take the example of Carol, a 75-year-old woman who had carefully planned her estate years ago. When Carol created her will, she had her son Kevin listed as the primary beneficiary of her estate. Over the years, however, life threw Carol some curveballs. Her son, Kevin, went through a messy divorce, and while Kevin's marriage had ended, Carol did not update her will to reflect this major change in her family structure. She assumed that everything would stay the same, but when Carol passed away, her family was left in turmoil. Kevin's ex-wife, who had remained in contact with Carol over the years and had even spent holidays with her, found herself in a very difficult position. No one was sure whether she had any legal claim to the estate, as Carol's will had never been updated after the divorce. Kevin's ex-wife didn't know whether she would be entitled to any of Carol's property, which led to confusion and eventually a stressful legal battle. The situation was emotionally draining for everyone involved, and it could have easily been avoided if Carol had taken the time to update her will after Kevin's divorce. This situation highlights how important it is to update your will whenever you experience a major life event. A simple update could have prevented the confusion and conflict that arose after Carol's passing. By taking the time to reflect on your current circumstances, you ensure that your estate is handled the way you intend, without leaving anyone guessing about your wishes. According to the American Bar Association, one of the best ways to avoid legal battles and emotional turmoil is to update your will after significant life events. It's a crucial step in making sure that your family and loved ones know exactly what you want and that your assets are distributed according to your wishes. Whether it's adding a new spouse, removing an ex-spouse, including a new child or grandchild, or adjusting your choices based on changes in your life, your will should reflect your current reality. So ask yourself, have you had any major life changes recently? If so, now is the perfect time to take a closer look at your will and ensure that it accurately reflects your situation. Who do you want to inherit your assets now? Are there people you need to remove or add to the list of beneficiaries? What kind of distribution do you want for your property? Taking time to update your will ensures that your wishes are honored and helps your family avoid the stress and confusion that can arise when things are left unresolved. Updating your will doesn't have to be a complicated or overwhelming process. It's about making sure that the people who matter most to you are taken care of in the way that you intended. By taking a few minutes to reflect on your life changes and make those necessary updates, you're providing clarity and peace of mind for both you and your loved ones. Remember, a well-maintained will is a thoughtful gesture that shows how much you care about your family's future. 2. Your health has changed. Health is an essential consideration when updating your will, especially as we age. While many people think of a will strictly in terms of property distribution and asset allocation, it's just as important to include your healthcare preferences, particularly if you've experienced any health changes. If your health has taken a turn, whether due to a serious illness or the natural aging process, your will should reflect your wishes for both your health care and how your estate will be managed. After all, it's not just about distributing assets. It's about ensuring that your loved ones understand your wishes for how you want to be cared for in your final years. Consider the case of Frank, a 68-year-old man who had been healthy for most of his life but suffered a debilitating stroke. After the stroke, Frank's health was never the same, and his ability to care for himself and make decisions became compromised. Frank had prepared a will years ago, but it didn't include any provisions for his healthcare preferences. He had never taken the time to clarify what kind of medical treatment he would want if he were unable to make decisions for himself. When Frank's condition worsened, his family found themselves in an extremely difficult position. Frank's children were uncertain about whether he would have wanted to be kept alive on a ventilator or if he would have preferred to pass away peacefully, free of life support measures. They were torn between trying to honor what they thought Frank might have wanted, but without any clear guidance. This led to days of emotional arguments, heightened stress, and a sense of confusion. The family wished they had known Frank's wishes ahead of time, but without any formal document, they were left to guess, making an already challenging time even more difficult. Frank, unfortunately, had never made his healthcare preferences clear, and this added emotional turmoil to an already heart-wrenching situation. According to the Mayo Clinic, ensuring that your will includes healthcare preferences is one of the best ways to prevent unnecessary emotional stress on your family. When you outline your preferences in a living will or healthcare directive, you remove the guesswork and confusion. This document can specify your desires for end-of-life care, such as whether you want to be kept on life support or whether you wish for a peaceful passing. By including this in your will or as a separate document, you can ensure that your family will be clear about your wishes, reducing the potential for family conflict during an emotionally charged time. In addition to specifying end-of-life care, you can also include provisions for long-term care if you become unable to care for yourself. This could involve appointing someone to make medical decisions on your behalf, or even specifying your preference for a particular type of facility or care provider if you ever need assisted living or nursing care. If you've experienced any significant health changes, whether it's a chronic condition, a major health event like a stroke, or even the gradual decline in your health that comes with aging, it's time to think about how you want to be treated if you can no longer make those decisions yourself. Take some time to reflect on your healthcare wishes. Would you want to be kept alive if you are in a coma or on life support with little chance of recovery? Would you prefer to pass away at home with hospice care, surrounded by family and comforted by the familiar? Having a clear plan in place for such decisions is invaluable, and it's important to have it documented properly. The solution is simple. Make sure your will includes a healthcare directive or living will that outlines these preferences. Doing so ensures that your family will not have to make these difficult decisions on their own, and that your wishes will be respected, even if you cannot voice them yourself. It's also wise to keep a copy of this document in an accessible place and inform your family members of its existence. This will help to ensure that everyone is on the same page and that there is no ambiguity regarding your wishes. Updating your will with healthcare preferences is a thoughtful and compassionate decision, one that provides peace of mind for both you and your family. If you've experienced any health changes, now is the time to address these matters and ensure that your wishes are known, leaving behind a legacy of care and clarity. You've acquired new assets. As we grow older, many of us experience changes in our financial situation. You might have received an inheritance, purchased a new home, acquired a valuable asset, or made investments in things like stocks or bonds. These assets, while a sign of success and security, can cause complications if they are not properly accounted for in your will. If you've acquired any new assets, whether big or small, it's essential to update your will to reflect these changes. If you don't, your new possessions may not be distributed according to your wishes after you pass away, which can lead to confusion, conflict, and unnecessary stress for your family. Let me tell you about Joe, a 72-year-old man who had always dreamed of owning a cabin by the lake. After years of saving, he was finally able to purchase the small cabin he'd always wanted. It was a peaceful retreat for him and his family, a place to relax and enjoy nature. But despite this major change in his life, Joe never updated his will to reflect the cabin as part of his estate. When Joe passed away, his children were left in a difficult situation. They didn't know whether to sell the cabin, keep it as a family retreat, or make other decisions about its future. There was confusion about who would inherit the property, and without clear instructions from Joe, the siblings fought over what to do with the cabin. This unnecessary conflict could have easily been avoided if Joe had simply updated his will after purchasing the cabin. The lack of clear instructions added stress at an already difficult time, and instead of honoring Joe's legacy, the family found themselves in turmoil. This scenario is unfortunately common when people acquire new assets but fail to account for them in their will. It's important to remember that any significant asset, whether it's property, investments, or even valuable personal items like jewelry or heirlooms, should be included in your will, along with clear instructions on how it should be handled. Updating your will after acquiring new assets is one of the most straightforward ways to ensure your wishes are respected and to avoid any conflict between family members. The last thing you want is for your loved ones to be left guessing about what you intended when it comes to valuable items or property. If you're unsure how to go about updating your will, consult with an attorney who can help you make sure that everything is accounted for and that your wishes are clearly outlined. This could involve adding specific bequests, such as leaving your cabin to one child, or specifying how you want your estate divided to ensure fairness. If you've recently acquired any new property or assets, it's time to take action and update your will. Don't let your family face the difficult decision of figuring out what to do with them. It's essential to be as specific as possible. Do you want your new cabin to stay in the family, or would you prefer it to be sold? Are there certain items that hold sentimental value that you want to pass on to specific people? The clearer you are in your instructions, the less room there will be for ambiguity or disputes. Remember, a will is not a static document. It should evolve with your life. Your financial situation, your relationships, and even your personal preferences change over time. Each time you acquire a new asset, whether it's a property, an investment, or a major gift, you need to ensure that your will reflects that change. By doing so, you provide your family with the clarity they need and give them peace of mind knowing that your wishes are clearly laid out. Updating your will doesn't have to be a daunting task. It's simply about taking the time to reflect on what you've accumulated, how you want it distributed, and making sure your will reflects those decisions. If you haven't done so already, take a moment to sit down and review your will. Are all your assets listed? If not, make the necessary updates and ensure your wishes will be followed after you're gone. Doing so will help protect your legacy and prevent your family from dealing with unnecessary conflict during an already emotional time. 4. You want to leave specific instructions for your care. Sometimes your health isn't just about what happens when you pass away. It's also about what happens while you're still alive. Do you have specific wishes for your care? If so, it's time to include them in your will. Take Nancy, 66. She wanted to ensure her family knew her wishes about life support and other medical interventions. She was diagnosed with a terminal illness and decided to make sure that her will included a clause about not wanting life support if she were in a coma for more than a certain period. This gave her children the clarity they needed when the time came, and they didn't have to make these difficult decisions under pressure. Consider whether you want to specify anything about your medical treatment or end-of-life care. Add this information to your will or healthcare directive and make sure your family understands your wishes. 5. You haven't named an executor or trustee. Finally, have you named an executor or trustee? This is the person who will handle your estate and ensure that your wishes are followed after you pass away. Without this person, your family may have to go through a lengthy and complicated process to figure out who should take on this responsibility. Think about Carol again. She assumed that her daughter, Lisa, would be available to take on the role of executor, but she never asked her. When Carol passed, Lisa was caught off guard and wasn't prepared to handle the responsibilities. This led to delays in handling the estate, and it created unnecessary stress. Make sure you've appointed someone you trust to act as your executor or trustee. Choose someone who is organized, level-headed, and capable of handling the responsibility. If your original choice is no longer able or willing to take on this role, update your will immediately. Stay with me because the most dangerous mistake you can make when it comes to your will is coming up next. You won't want to miss it. But first, I'd love to hear from you. If you're still here and you're planning on updating your will, comment number 4 below and let me know if any of these issues are affecting you right now. So what can you do after watching this video? Take a moment to review these 5 signs and think about whether it's time to update your will. It's important not to leave this to chance. Updating your will can save your family a lot of heartache, confusion, and unnecessary stress. Try this tonight. Sit down with your will, look over it carefully, and check if any of these signs apply to you. If they do, update your will. It's a simple process that can give you and your family peace of mind. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. And if you have any thoughts or questions, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what changes you've made or are planning to make. Key takeaways recap. Review your will after major life changes. Update your will if your health changes or you have new medical preferences. Ensure all assets are accounted for in your will. Include specific healthcare instructions. Don't forget to appoint an executor or trustee. Make sure your family knows your wishes when the time comes. Subscribe for more practical advice, and let's protect your legacy together.